me, bro. So during the Fees Must Fall marches, so the people are there, they're cheering your name, you're making all these beautiful speeches. Dude, can you tell me the feeling, bro? That must have been better than sex, bro, that feeling. Hey, Penduka, it must have been, bro.
Yeah, feeling like a king.
Yeah, no, not really.
Finally I got my chance.
Yeah.
No. I don't think so. I think we were caught in a moment. We were really not ourselves. To an extent that now that I'm old and I look at the things that we did, I ask myself, how did we do it? I think we were possessed by some spirits.
In this particular clip, we have Mcebo Dlamini in a conversation with Macg, and they're talking about the Fees Must Fall. If you don't know Mcebo Dlamini, a little bit of a background, he was one of the leaders, who pushed forward, the Fees Must Fall movement, whereby now they were protesting against universities to say drop those particular fees so that people can get their qualifications, and basically sending a message as well to the government to say, hey, please, we want free education. Can you please drop these particular fees so that students can, get their certificates basically, and be able to get jobs? Because if you haven't paid up your fees, therefore you can't necessarily even get your academic record, not to mention as well as your certificate. So he was one of those particular leaders back in 2014, 2015, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's in studio and basically describing that whole entire experience as he was at the forefront leading that particular movement.
We were not ourselves. We couldn't have done it on our own. We couldn't have done it on flesh alone. So there was something that was guiding us. We were so into this.
How did it start? How did it start, this movement?
Well, let me say how the vets protest started, and then because when it started at vets, like the protest. So what happened is that it was something that has been building on, and then but there was a boiling point. There was the trigger, but the conditions on the ground, because the university, we've been there at the time. I already had a degree in BSc. I had already finished the BA. So, but the conditions, we still felt that you don't belong here. In as much as Wits University has the majority of Black students, but the racism is institutionalized in such a way that you don't feel the sense of belonging there. Now, how is that? Because firstly, when you apply at Wits, on application, they ask you, are you Black? You say, yes, I'm Black. They say, how Black are you? What language are you speaking?
How Black
are you? In the process, when you are applying, they're asking you already. Then you will say, no, I'm Black. They say, how Black are you? What language are you speaking? You say, no, I'm Swati. They say, how religious are you? Which do you go to church? Do what? Then they went on to say, how are you going to fund your education? That's how they eliminate you.
And that's always the case, especially with institutions that, as Mcebo Dlamini describes, are pretty much racist. We're talking about your roads, your vets, your Stellenbosches, your Western Cape or Cape Town universities. Those types of universities are not necessarily built for the poor. They were even from the beginning for the elite back in the apartheid days. If you remember very well, no Black student would just, go into that particular university unless, there's a particular specific reason, in terms of you going there, but then that's why even a university like Vaal University is actually classified as more or less like a Black university, because Vaal University of Technology. And if you study that, you will see that majority of these, Vaal University of Technology, Tshwane University of Technology, majority of the universities with technology on the side were actually, for black people, in a sense. They were designed for them, because even if you look at them now, a black person would probably flourish in terms of their conditions, in terms of them, anything that they ask for, being heard in those types of universities, unlike, your Wits, your UJs, your Cape Town, your Stellenbosch, and your Rhodes. They're pretty much different in terms of their structure and who they also accommodate.
Got rejected once you say you are relying on NSFAS, you're not going to be accepted. You're not going to accept it. Doesn't matter how many distinctions you have. So the applications determines whether they take you or not, the questions. Then you say, which schools did you go to? You say, no, I went to Msinga. They already say, who is going to give us problems? This one is going to want food. Is going to want accommodation. Is going to want this and that. Then someone comes, says, I'm coming from St. John's. He has got the place. You say, no, you don't have funding. You are relying on NSFAS. You are already there on the periphery. So those are the things that actually has been building up. Also, the issue of NSFAS itself, how NSFAS perpetually reminded you that you are poor. Because today, when you apply for NSFAS, they say, okay, prove that. You say, no, I'm poor, I can't afford to study at vet. They say, no, prove how poor you are. Now, you must now come and say, my mother died, or my father died, or my father is in jail, or my father has HIV. Now you must run around looking for new cars of people with HIV to prove here. You see? No, but it's true. Yeah. You see? Now, remember how broken some black families are. Yeah. You have passed. You have got the distinctions. Now, you need, they say, prove that you are poor. Now, you must be going and looking for your father that is married to someone else, where you can't be getting the certificate of that man, so that you can be able to qualify for the financial bursary from.
Yeah, NSFAS bursary is one of the, look, I always say when you get a bursary, maybe from a company, you don't necessarily have to prove that you are able or that you are actually poor. Bursaries are not necessarily structured for the poor. They were structured in terms of academic performance, right? In NSFAS, it was very much accommodative in terms of everyone. Whether you are excellent in terms of academics or you are not, it will accommodate you. So one of the things that it was using in terms of filtering out individuals was financial status, especially back at home for those particular students, to say you must prove that, number one, your mother is not employed, or if they are employed, they shouldn't be earning a particular salary, in which I think last time I checked was around 20,000 rands, So those are the types of things that you must prove, and obviously Macg Dlamini is necessarily against such, and also, if you think about it, it was an indication for universities like VET to say, we don't want you because you're relying on NSFAS. Therefore, that means your background is pretty much poor. And that is what he is basically fighting about in this case.
NSFAS. Oh, your father died. You need the death certificate from that family. They won't give you. You know how black families are. Yeah. Maybe you are a child that was born out of wedlock, or there's just a family start fighting. Your mom is accused probably for killing, whatever the challenges are. Yeah. But you now can't access the death certificate from the family. Vets must financially exclude you. You won't be able to get NSFAS. Let's say you do it this year. You collect all those documents and you submit. You get NSFAS. the process said the same thing you did this year, you must do it next year. What has changed? How is my economic situation would have miraculously changed overnight? I was poor last year. I remained poor. My father was dead. So now you must be perpetually going to the same aunts to look for the death certificate or looking for the mucus of the people with TB to prove that we have a problem here. So it became dehumanizing the process that perpetually you must be reminded that you are poor and you are black.
So how do you end up becoming the face of Fees Must Fall? Because I don't know about you, Penduka, but when I first knew about Mcebo was during that time.
Yeah, when he was gliding. Yeah, that's the time I took note of him as well.
So basically, this is what led to the Fees Must Fall, and obviously left out, the fees part. But basically, he was talking about the institutional racism, he was talking about the lack of funding that students, had to kind of like go through in terms of proving that they actually need funding, so those were the types of things that the Fees Must Fall movement was actually fighting about in this particular clip. Mcebo Dlamini discussed that with Macg. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Don't forget to like and also subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one.